Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Good,
warahmatullahi
Warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh.
good afternoon, everyone. We are group two, and today we are going to present about transitivity in ELT. Okay, our group member are myself, Ina Mazda Zulfa, and there's Mbak Yasinta Dewi Larasati, Mbak Aprilia Vivatur Rahmawati, and Mbak Elina Sukma Aryatama. Okay. So let's begin with the definition. Next, please. Next, please. Okay, next. Okay. It's in systemic functional linguistic, transitivity explains how language represents our experience of the world. In short, it answers questions like who does what, to whom, where, when, how, and why. It shows us how real world phenomena are expressed through language. Focus on how phenomena in the real world are realized as linguistic structure. Next, please. Okay. There are three semantics category. This is the elements of transitivity. The first is circumstances, the additional detail, such as when, where, or how something happens, and etc. And the second, there is a processes, uh, the action or the event. And then the third is participants, the people or things that involved in the action, in the apa namanya, event. And then together, these elements create representation of experience in a clause. Next, please. Okay, let's start with circumstantiation in transitivity. Okay. Circumstances add extra information to a process. They answer questions like when, where, why, how, with whom, about what, and as what. Next, please. Okay. This is the type and the categories of circumstances. The first, there is a time. Uh, this tell us when something happened. For example, he goes to church every Sunday. So, the press every Sunday is the circumstances of time. And the second place, spatially, yeah, this explain where something happened. There's some categories like means, what is it? Uh, Example, my mother went by bus. So the phrase by bus, uh, it's circumstances of manner. Also, wait. Okay, this is some subcategory of the manner, right? The second, there's a quality. The example is it was snowing heavily. Heavily, it's a apa namanya circumstances manner yang kategorisnya quality. And then there's comparison. The example is it went through my head like an earthquake. And the fourth, there is cause. This is include a reason, purpose, and the help. And the subcategories reason. The example is for what? For want of a nail the shoe was lost. Nah, for what? Apa namanya? The phrase for once it's the reason. And then there is for sake of peace. Nah, the phrase for the sake ini subcategories of cause and circumstances. And then there's a behalf. The example, I am writing on behalf of Aunt Jane. So on behalf is the categories and circumstances of cause. The sixth, there is a matter. This tell us about what? Example, I worry about her health. And the next one is role. This shows us what someone or something functions. For example, I'm speaking as your employee. So, um, as we can see, each type of circumstances gives extra meaning to the clause and makes the experience more complete. So, next, please. Okay, this is the example in a apa namanya in a short story. Last Saturday night, it's a time circumstance of time, and then the local council held a fancy dress ball for charity. Ini circumstances of cause. And then in the town hall, this is a place, circumstances of place. And then the Lord Mayor who came with his lady. This is circumstances of accompaniment, yeah, with his lady, a priest with his lady, and was dressed as old King Cole. This is a role as old King Cole. And then he walked proudly. This is the manner, the circumstance of manner, and made a speech about the homeless. This is the circumstance of matter. Next, please. Okay. From circumstances to process and participant. Circumstances complete the picture, but process and participant are the foundation. Okay, now that we understand circumstances, let's move to the next key element that will present Miss Yasinta.
Thank you, Mbak Vina. Next, I would like to explain about the process intransitivity. The process is central to transitivity. It is realized by verbs. And then there are different kinds of going on, which involve different kinds of participants in varying circumstances. Based on Halliday, there are 7 types of processes, which are material, behavioral, mental, verbal, relation, existential, and meteorological. We will explain next in the next chapter. So this is the type of participant of process because each process have the different category of meaning, different category of roles in process. As you can see, for material process, there are participants called actor and fool, and then the mental process as sensor and phenomenon. For behavioral process, the role as behavior and range. For verbal process, it is as sayer, target, receiver, or verbiage. For relation and process, there are 2 types, which is identifying, which roles process as token and value, and then attributive relational process, the roles as carrier and attributive. For existential process, there has no representation or function, and then for meteorological process, it is often referred as it, which has no representational function also. For first, material process, The participant for the material process is called as the actor and the goal. Material process are obvious action which take place, or someone or something is carrying a physical action. They are represented in the language by words such as walk, do, act, or jump, and commonly found in text as such as recount, procedures, and explanation. Here we have a example. John drove Mary home. From the sentence, we can refer John as the actor, drove as the material process, Mary as the goal, or home as circumstantials of place. Why we do why we do categorize drove as material process? Because it is action, active action, and then the actor John uh, doing something to Mary, which is the goal. So the actor is the one doing action, and then the goal is the entity that is affected by the action. Also, for this kind of material process, this process or material process, it is not only for the transitive sentence, but also it can be used for intransitive. For example, Mary was driven home by John. How can we identify which is the actor from the sentence? As I stated before, the actor is the one doing action. So we need to identify who is doing the action. In the sentence, Mary was driven home by John. John is doing the action. So John is the actor. Then Mary is categorized as the goal. So both for transitive and intransitive, we can identify the material process, but what we need to do first is to see the actor. Who is the actor? And then next, behavioral process. It is the role of the behavioral process is the behavior. Behavioral process is process of sociological and psychological behavior like breathing, dreaming, snoring, smiling, hiccuping, looking, watching, listening, and pondering. It is often non-verbal and often use a single participant. It is also related to a particular kind of human behavior, such as, for example, he snores loudly. From the sentence, we identify snores as the behavioral process, and then he is the behavior, and loudly is circumstantial of manner. Behavior, it is the conscious being who is engaging in the behavior. So who is the one who is engaging in the behavior? That's all from me. Next will be delivered by Elena.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, Mbak Yacinta. I would like to explain about mental process in transitivity. So mental process are those which represent mental activities of thinking, perceiving, or feeling. They typically describe what someone thinks, knows, likes, feels, or sense. A mental process divided into three types:
The first one is affective or reactive, and then cognitive, and the last one is perceptive. The participants of mental process are sensor and phenomenon. Sensor in mental process clause is the participant who experiences the mental activity. And then the phenomenon is what is thought, felt or perceived by the sensor. It's the object of mental experience. Next. Okay, this is the example for mental processes. First, we have perceptive example. The sentence is John saw Mary. So, John as a sensor and so as mental perceptive, and then Mary as a phenomenon. The second one is cognitive mental process. The sentence is John thought that Mary was coming. John as a sensor, thought as mental cognitive, and then that Mary was coming is phenomenon. The last one is affective example. The sentence is Mary liked what he liked. Mary as a sensor, like as mental effect, and then what he liked as a phenomenon. So the um general pattern is sensor plus mental process, and then the last is phenomenon. Next is mental verbal processes. Verbal processes are processes of saying or communicating, usually involve a participant who is human or who has been given human's attribute. In other words, verbal processes connect language to experiences. They are represented in the language by words such as say, ask, and tell. They are commonly found in narrative text, exposition text, amongst others. In verbal processes, we have three participants. The first one, sorry. The first one is sayer. Sayer is the participant who utters or produces speech. And then target is the participant who receives the speech or it is the addressee. And then the last one is verbiage. Verbiage is the content of what is said, such as statement, question, story, and information. Next. Next is the example of verbal processes. The first one we have example sayer. The sentence is John said that he was tired. John as sayer and then said as verbal process, and the last that he was tired as a verbiage. Next is target example. The sentence is John told Mary to go. John as a sayer, told Casper so as a verbal process, and then Mary as target because because in the sentence John told Mary, so in this example Mary as a target and to go as a verbiage. The last is verbiage example. The sentence is John was told to go by Mary. John as a target was told as a verbal process, and then to go as a verbiage by Mary as a sayer. Next will be delivered by Mbak Aprilia.
Okay, thank you for the time. So
Next, I will explain about relational process. Before, you already explained by Mbak Yashinta and Mbak Elena about process, the non-relational. They are process of doing, saying, feeling, and the habitude. So now I will explain about relational process. This is a process of being and having. So for this slide, you can see that relational divided into types, attributive and identifying. And then each of them divided into three, tensive, circumstantial, and possessive. So next, I will explain about it. This next slide. Okay. First is relational attributive process. So relational attributive processes is a process which assign a quality, including intensive, possessive, and circumstantial. So we, I mean, for this process, attributive, it's a process that attach attribute to the participants that are including intensive, possessive, and circumstantial. For intensive, it's a given information that participants, or this is there are two participant, career and attribute. So the career, if the first participants or the subject is attribute, it's the information of attributes. Like for intensive, participants of career is participants as attribute. For the possessive is process of owning the career own attribute. And then for circumstantial is given information about the career in this place or in the time or like in circumstantial. And again, I will explain first about the participant. So the participant of this attributive process is two. First is career. Career is an entity being described. The subject or the participant as career in the attributive processes will be described by the attributive, like before I said that career or cytoplasm, we can give a variable X. And then for attribute, short of a jelly-like material is Y. So for the attributive intensive, given information that X is Y. This is for intensive. Then for possessive, it's process of owning. Plant cells have a cell wall. Carrier, plant cells as a carrier is X. That have as attributive possessive, a cell wall as attribute is Y. And then plus the yolk is inside the album. So carrier, the yolk as carrier is as attributive circumstantial, and inside the album is attributive. It's attribute. So we'll look back to first example that in summary, X is Y. For the second example is X have or owning Y. And the last example is X in Y. All right, I will continue. Next. Okay, next about identifying process, relational identifying process. So this is a process which assign an identity, give an identity including intensive, possessive, and circumstantial. It's same with relational, with attributive relational process. So for the first, before attributive is give an attribute or quality, that for this process, identifying process is assign or give an identity for the participants. There are two participants. First is token. It is an identity being equated with another. And then for the second participant is value, the other description. The other description or information about the token, about the participant token. So for the example, first, the nucleus is the brain of cell. The nucleus is become a token or first participants, subject, main participants, and is identifying intensive. And brain of cell became a value that for this sentence, the nucleus is the brain of cell, like you identify that the brain of cell is the nucleus, or the nucleus is the brain of cell. For the second example, all cells contain cytoplasm. All cells as token contain as identifying possessive, cytoplasm as value. For this example, we can know that all cells have or own cytoplasm, and cytoplasm. And then for cytoplasm, it's also again part or milik or owned by all cells. And then for the last example, albumin surrounds the yolk. Albumin is token, surrounds is identifying circumstantial given information about place or about yeah. And then the yolk is value. Next. Okay, so for when maybe we can confused about relational, attributive, or identifying, but there are also the table, the list of verbs they usually use for attributive or identifying. Next. Okay, maybe you can confuse or difficult to differences between relational identifying process and attributive process. But we have a characteristic or information that attributive process just became tidak bisa diubah-ubah kalimatnya seperti itu. But for identifying process, we can reversible, we can changing switch from another participant to participant. Like for the example, like first sentence is very Tuckwell may be the finest living horn player. For this example, the top line is very Tuckwell. Maybe is identifying possessive and value the finest living horn player as a value. So we can reversible it to second sentence. The finest living horn player may be Baritoquel. So we can switch it the sentence for the identifying process. But for the attribute process, we cannot do like this. Okay, next is about existential process. Existential process or process of existence. We can know it is existential process or not with word there.
It's the characteristic of existential process that they are worth there. And then the participant for this process is existence. As I told before, in this process, they are worth there, but it is no representational function, representational function. It's just need for the subject in English to make the correct or easy sentence. It also can express by verbs or existing, be, exist, arise, and then the existence can be a phenomenon of any kind. So for the example, there's a unicorn in the garden. There are no function, no representational function. We can just see it, but not give any process or any participant or circumstantial, but just there. And then for the existential or the process, it is or apostrophe s. And a unicorn as the existence and in the garden are circumstantial of place. For the second sentence, there issues a portrait legal battle. There's just no representational function, and should is existential, and existence is a protracted legal battle. Next. Okay, so the last process is meteorological process. When we see or read the book from Pierrot and Wignell, we can see or read about this process. But when we look at to the holiday, he not classify this process into the process. Like for holiday, he he delayed this process. Only the Gerard and McNeil use this methodological process. So for this methodological process is a process that given information or relation about whether it also commonly the when we see the existential process, we can found there word there, and for the methodological process, we can see it. Worth it. Both of them has no representational function, just to provide a subject or role as a function word for the English sentence. I think it's enough for me. Maybe you still have a lot of ambiguity or a lot of thinking about this. But yeah, for the transitivity, it has a lot of protect with a lot of participants, with a lot of different participants. It's okay. Yeah. Okay, next week we can ask to Mr. Midi for the more and clear explanation. Yes. Good. Well, then I'm going to ask you. What are the primitive? Yeah, okay.
Okay, who is speaking? Okay, thank you very much to all of my friends with the wonderful explanation. Now we are moving to question and answer session. So if you have any question, please raise your hand and we will answer the question. Yeah, we'll do uh our best. Okay, let's start with the first question.
Is there a question, guys? No, I'm sending a chat. No, but I will go to
Udah. Saya mau pergi ke belakang. Nggak jelas. Mbak Lina, you can open the Canva link for the PPT.
I'm not going to ask a question too because I'm still
Don't get
don't really understand. So, if there are any stats that need to be together.
Yes, of course. Wait.
Really?
Itu tuh, exercise-nya di sini. Kecilin. Kalau ini kelihatan nggak? Kelihatan nggak sih? Mungkin gitu. Ini belum diisi. Gimana sih caranya? Hmm. Samaan sih, yang dibesarin tadi. Yes, dia itu ada kok di PPT paling belakang ya. Nah, okay. So this is the exercise. You can try to answer.
I think like for material process is a process of doing something. Okay, for mental process of sensing, like using feeling or thinking or perceiving. And then for verbal process is process of saying. So we can know from the verb that commonly use said or told. And then for a relational process, attributive and identifying is a process of being given information or relation. And then for behavioral, it's a process of behavior that the verb is given information about habitual habit. And existential is a process of existence.
Existence.
Or we do this exercise together and discussing, and then you can open the Canva. Can you give any
Suaraku.
orang yang start dengan
Uh, Please categorize the participant of the apa sih design?
Is there any of these outputs that we heard on the box?
Yeah, participant.
Yes, you can give the information
Which is
what is the participants
and there's
and the content and the circumstance of each sentence, but we can relating first. A.
Since there are so many processes here, and each process has different forms of the participants and the role. So, do you show us what I have terms that we should put in the box?
same striping.
It has option which is this exercise from?
Sarap na.
Great.
So we will give the example first. So for the first, I was driving along the coast road. So we look for the verb first. Driving. Driving is a action which we can see, right? So we will categorize it as the material process because it is a physical action.
Doing something.
Doing something. Driving. So was driving is as material process. And then because the driving or the verb is material process, so the subject we will categorize as the participant as the actor. The actor is the person or the doer. And then for along the coast road, it is circumstantial, which belongs to circumstantial, place. Do you get it, Mbak Lina? The example?
So, what was its material
Process.
So for this exercise, first semester, how do you get your divide first?
Yeah, we need to identify the verb first. What kind of what kind of verb the process.
After we know about what is the process is, we can look at the participants of the process, and then you can
In the student and
Ini belum selesai exercise-nya. So you can try for the number 2 clause, but when the car suddenly lurched to one side. So car is
harus gimana ya harus I can just launch. There's no guide on this. Yes. If that's the question,
yes.
so the actor will be
Right. Yeah.
goal is there's no
So for the third exercise, we wanna answer.
I told.
Azara, maybe. Why Mas Mama? It's cannot. Yeah, number 3. Okay.
So yes, it's the cognition process. What is it? How about the participants? How about the I?
I F. Okay, and then mana sih? Yang belakangnya ini kayak gitu. That the tire had gone. Oh, ini pembina hidup. Correctional. Yeah, it can cause why? Oh, ini beda. Satu terus, dan satu ada soal terus ini sorry, ini
Kalau saya misalnya yang mana isi
no. Why? Jelas kan. Beda banget. So for this, can we have two clauses. At first, I thought that a tire had gone. So I thought is a mental process, right? And the I belongs to the sensor because it is a mental process.
Who says?
Things in the cognition system. And then for the attire had gone, it is a different clause. So we will identify again for the process. It is a different process from I thought because this is a connection, right? That so it is different clause. Relational side, relational clause ini. Clause itu apa sih? Relational clause. That. Oh, relational. Ini kan gimana nih? Ini dan jika ketika kamu udah siap communication yang satu
gibran kopi aja.
gimana sih
Internet
Kalau sudah tinggi, maksudnya ke competency, bukan ke proses. Tapi maksudnya ke competency, cross complex.
ya. Excellent. So can identify a tire head gun?
The trail up to the opinions.
How about you, Mbak? Okay.
To me, standard review really less. So people say real.
And then behavioral. So the correct one is head gun belongs to material because gun is the material process because we can see the physical action of the person. We go doing go. So a tire would be texture. Sorry? Yeah.
Means you have 500.
Compass. Tire.
Yeah.
Since for the person we knowledge to our side, that was that about that delivery.
I only say.
But just yeah, the fires is a lot of going months. You know.
Kita baca aja. Terus mau diselesain nggak? Maksudnya exercise-nya. Next, number 4. But then I saw telegraph poles, which the processes. Malina mau jawab. Oh, Pak. Okay. Sedih juga nggak bisa ya? Gimana?
Is it?
Hmm,
No.
yep, Mas Maman. Mental.
Salt. Sense of
Right. Good.
Okay, senses part.
Iya.
Itu saya
Jangan. Oke.
saya belum
Can I
Mm-mm.
when so all C is categorized as mentioned so when it is there when look it categorized as behavior like there's two words kind of similar.
Kayaknya langsung. Wait, dari nanggu ya.
Oh, you don't see the Washington.
Okay.
Or Mas Maman can answer.
Because actually, I also have a question. Because mental and behavioral is kind of similar, right? So I also have difficulties to differentiate both of the process. So I think we need to ask Mr. Widi for the detailed explanation, right?
I don't know.
Looking behavior. Okay, so maybe we can answer at the last of the presentation or next week with Mr. Widi. So we back to the exercise number 4. Ah, alam mo ba? Yes, okay. Okay, Mas Maman, maybe you wanna continue your answer to exercise number 4?
Just continue.
So back to the class, yeah. For the ISO telegraph poles, so belongs to mental process, and
Yes.
therefore the I is as a sensor, and then the telegraph poles as the phenomenon. Yeah.
Phenomenon. Okay, so good. Good aja. Collapsing like matchmaking. Collapse, it is belongs to material process. And then like matchstick, it is belongs to circumstantial manner. Like matchstick. So kan ada selain soalnya kita pilih buat nih kita sudah itu ya ini tadi tak ada mau ini kan terus mereka ada yang So itu berhasil sedangkan
Okay, guys, that's it the last exercise that we do. So next is about Q&A. Answer maybe we still also have confusing about this. Like we will accept your question, and then maybe next week we can answer and got the question for the interview because next week we still do reviewing this material. So I think you have any question, guys?
Maybe next week we will ask him to
I think for the material transitivity, even though
because we are so
I think for the first thing that we should do about this material is remembering the process, the kind of process or the verb that belongs to any process. And then for the participants, I think it will very hard to do, but it's okay. Next week we'll talk about again. I think it's enough. I will go back to Mbak Vina.
Stop.
Is it enough, guys? Okay, to conclude our presentation, transitivity in SFL helps us understand how language represents a human experience, and it shows us three main elements. There's a processes, there's a participants, and there's a circumstances. There are seven types of processes that they all have lots of names. And in short, by analyzing transitivity, we can see not only the structure of the sentence, but also how the meaning is constructed to present actions, thought, relationship, and experience in our daily lives. So, thank you very much for your kind of attention, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you very much.